There are a lot of different archetypes for plot lines when it comes to wrestling. There could be angles of redemption, there could be angles for revenge, there could be angles for anti-bullying. Be a star, everybody. There could be angles revolving around a championship, around a love interest. There are a lot of different possibilities. But in wrestling, there is one lone constant that seems to constantly rise above all others, and that is the angle archetype of the fighting underdog. We saw at the last NXT TakeOver in Brooklyn one of the greatest underdog stories in wrestling history with Bayley's rise to the top of NXT. So, in honor of that, we are going to go through some of the best underdog stories both within and outside of kayfabe for this episode. Greetings, everybody. I am Calcos. Calcos with a K this time, mind you. And joining me is...
Nikki V.
Toon Critic, that is Toon Critic with a K.
Oh, shut your fucking mouth.
Hey,
Nikki V
I had to
with a
deal
K.
with that too, okay?
Alright, so
Hey,
for this episode,
we
we're
all
gonna...
have K's in our name.
Yay!
Oh god, that doesn't have any implications.
Oh boy, we also would have had all C's in our names, but god. Also, hilarious KKK joke. Lol, 10 out of 10. On this episode, we're
going
gonna
to
go
hell.
through some of the best underdog stories in wrestling, and I don't really have much of an introduction past that, so Nikki, why don't you just take us off?
Alright. Anybody remember Zack Ryder?
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, that's how we start all this off. Zack fucking Ryder.
Oh man. Like, back when he first got into the WWE, I was kind of a fan of him, but I remember seeing him back when he was one of the Major Brothers, and then when he got repackaged as Zack Ryder and teaming up with Kurt Hawkins. I looked at those two and I was like, are they going anywhere? Like,
No.
I don't know if these guys are going to have much of a career post tag team. And Kurt really didn't. Like, he tried to catch on. He bounced around with a couple other tag teams. I think he tagged with Trent Beretta at one point. But
Who the fuck remembers Trent Beretta? Seriously.
I am shocked that I was able to pull that name out of my ass. Like, wow, my
He had
wrestling.
the look, but just nobody cared. No, the thing about Ryder, though, is that he started off with just like a tag team. Then he moved to another tag team where he worked along with Edge. But then he drifted away from that. And then in WWECW, he became Zack Ryder. And he was most notable for retiring Tommy Dreamer.
Which is actually kind of a big honor if you're an ECW fan.
Also, he had the most ridiculous ring attire I have ever seen. He had the one-legged tights. That's not a good look, Zach. I'm sorry, but yeesh.
No,
What
it isn't.
Fuck, man.
But really, his underdog story started to take off around 2010, 2011-ish, where he started the little show that some people know and some people may remember, Long Island Iced Z.
Yes! What a great fucking show that was.
It was really fun, and people started picking up on it through the whole the power of YouTube, the power of the people at the time. You know, people really wanted to see Zack start going. People power.
My name is John Laurinaitis.
I'm the executive vice president of talent relations. God, shut the fuck up.
I really, like, when I first saw that, I really thought that his name was a pun off of laryngitis.
Now, you might be wondering, based on the events that happened to Ryder in early 2012, why we're putting him on this list as an underdog story, because he did rise up, but eventually he became the sole definition of the word buried in 2012. It's very simple. Zack Ryder was over as fuck, to the point where he was joining in dark segments after Raws and SmackDowns with the likes of CM Punk and John Cena. He was very, very popular because of his internet show. He even had the Internet Championship, if either of you two remember that.
He still holds it.
He
Like,
still holds it. And
he has never lost the Internet Championship. 4 years in running, people. The
Woo!
greatest champion of our time.
Zack Ryder, however, did something very important for the WWE that a lot of people don't realize. WWE, now more than ever, has a very, very heavy stamp in social media. And back in 2010 and 2011, when all kinds of people were starting to get into this, whether you were a celebrity, a company, or even a politician, Twitter was one of your biggest platforms to get outreach to the people. Zack Ryder forced WWE to join the social media scene, and you'll see them trending every single fucking week, whether it's Raw, whether it's just an average Raw, whether it's a pay-per-view, they're always trending, usually number one. And a lot of this started because of Zack Ryder. So, guys, what did they do to thank him for his little endeavors into social media at the end of 2011?
Well, he was entering into a feud with Dolph Ziggler at the time, and Dolph Ziggler, around that time, was the United States champion. So they figured, why not? Let's have a little underdog, Zack Ryder, power of the people, and all the other shit, go up against Dolph Ziggler and beat him for the United States championship. All was well until one word: Kane. Actually, no. If you want to include more, 4 words: Kane and John Cena.
John Cena steals Zack Ryder's girlfriend while Zack Ryder's in a wheelchair. Zack Ryder goes out on stage. John Cena completely upstages him for several Raws, and Kane all of a sudden pushes Zack Ryder off the stage, and that was it. Like, a lot of people will say that Kevin Owens was buried because he lost the 3-match deal to Cena. A lot of people will say that people like Dean Ambrose was buried because of the nowhere feud with Bray Wyatt. All you have to do is take one look at Zack Ryder and you know that, no, they were not buried, but Zack Ryder certainly fucking was.
Okay, look, those people do not know what buried means. Like, they think that if you lose a rivalry or you're put into limbo for a little bit, that means you're buried. Good God, people. These people want everything and they want it now. And that just can't happen. Like, Bray Wyatt going over Ambrose, that was kind of necessary to get Wyatt, like, up in the eyes of the fans, getting ready to face Undertaker. And, like, there was so much... There's so many times that people do this, and it just annoys me because it's such a reactionary thing. It's, oh my God, being buried. No, this is wrestling. Someone has to win and someone has to lose. Owens was never buried. Wyatt was never buried. Ambrose was never buried. Ryder, yes, Ryder was buried. Barrett is buried. People like that, yes.
The thing that sucks, though, about this is that Ryder has not been able to come back since then. It's been 3 years, and please, name 5 notable things that Ryder has done since then. You can't, because he's been drifting around, been used as a jobber, and now that Long Island IC is I don't know if it's happening anymore. If it isn't, then he's kind of screwed.
It got sponsorship from WWE, lasted about 2 episodes, and then was completely axed, and was replaced with Michael Cole and JBL. And the thing is, Zack Ryder, a lot of people were expecting him to be fired in 2014 and 2015, but he still has a job. Honestly, I think WWE will keep Zack Ryder on forever, if only because of the stamp that he put on WWE with their social media relationship. Like, a lot of that has to do with solely with Zack Ryder pressuring WWE to do what Ryder was doing. So, in a way, WWE buried him for the sole purpose of trying to... It's really hard. Like, I have a very love-hate relationship with WWE because when it comes to Zack Ryder, they pushed him, they gave him a mid-card title, they gave him a moment in the sun, and then they just took it away from him. It wasn't gradual. It wasn't a slow burn down to the bottom because of a lack of crowd hype. It was just, it's there, and now it's not. And while we do have that wonderful underdog story of Zack Ryder defying the WWE and getting over on his own, unfortunately, the WWE had to put their foot down and say, no, you're not allowed to do that. Fuck you.
Yeah, this is one of those times where the whole brass ring argument gets blown the fuck out of the water, because Mick Foley said it best. Zack Ryder grabbed that brass ring, and then the WWE immediately took it out of his hands. But, like you said, he's probably going to be with the company forever, not just because of what he did with the social media thing. It's also because he will eternally be over. Like, there will never come a point, unless something horrible happens, where Zack Ryder will not be popular in the eyes of the fans. And he'll be over as a jobber, which is something that is kind of rare, and it kind of And on top of that, he did do the Tyson Kidd thing and dropped down to NXT and is tagging up with Mojo Rawley. And this might just be me being like weird and dumb like that. The Hype Bros are awesome. I don't care what anybody says. They are such goofballs, and I love it.
I think with Zack Ryder, though, okay, here's what I think about Zack Ryder. I think that as an entertainer, as the character that he plays, kids and other people are going to love that. And, you know, since we're in the kid era, you know, that's important. Now that he's in NXT, he's doing, I think, what he does best. He's working in a tag team. I don't think he has... Okay, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I don't think he has the star power to go off on his own and be up with the main events. He could be pretty high on the mid card, but I don't think in terms of his wrestling ability, that's not going to help him. But what he's doing right now that he's got a tag team, now that he's got somebody to work with, somebody to bounce off of, that's where he's, you know, working best at.
I agree. Let's move on. Zach, you are up next.
All right. So, since we're talking about things that are recent, this year, WrestleMania 31, do I really need to go into this?
Well, you kind of have to, because this one does require a little bit of context, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, let's talk about Seth Rollins. You know, he's somebody that everybody's talking about now with. He's going into Night of Champions, defending the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and United States Championship. But who would have thought that somebody way back in I'm trying to remember exactly the place. It was Ring of Honor, I think?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, in Ring of Honor, when he was considered just a jobber. People didn't like him back in Ring of Honor. He had this attitude. He had this look that nobody was really buying into back then. He was Tyler Black, I believe is his name. And what really sucked is that nobody thought that he would have become anything. When he got to WWE, he was in NXT for a while. He became NXT champion. Okay, cool. That's NXT. That's not the big stage. Back then, that was considered WWE ECW territory. That's the best you're going to get. Like, that title, you might as well consider a mid-card title. But then he joined up with The Shield. And we all know about The Shield. The Shield is probably one of the best factions that we've seen in a long time. And then he betrayed The Shield and went off on his own. And then he got Money in the Bank. Now, that's where things started to decline a little bit because he was getting his ass kicked. Nobody was taking him seriously. Even though he joined up with the Authority, nobody believed. Nobody cared about Seth Rollins. Nobody knew what he was going to do. We all suspected, oh, he's just going to do the traditional, oh, I'm just going to cash in at the right moment. Now, he did cash in, but not just on some regular pay-per-view or at the end of Raw. He cashed in the main event of WrestleMania 31. Here he comes sprinting down the ring, cashing in, going to pin, I think it was Reigns. And here he is the next night on Raw with the championship. Something that nobody in their right mind would have ever... They expected it at some, like I said, low-card pay-per-view, but not in this. Not in this beautiful WrestleMania moment that has pretty much cemented him in terms of his legacy there. That's one big story, I think.
The term WrestleMania moment has officially just become like a hashtag, and it doesn't have very much meaning anymore. But Rollins cashing in was the WrestleMania 31 moment. Like that's the one big thing, besides maybe Daniel Bryan's last match, last pay-per-view, if that ends up being the case. But Rollins cashing in is going to be the biggest moment from Mania 31 that people will remember until the end of wrestling. Like, it was big.
Remember, Seth Rollins was a guy that at his last match of Ring of Honor got chants of future jobber. The entire crowd was chanting future jobber at him because they didn't think that he would amount to anything in WWE. He had attitude problems, he had problems in the ring, and people didn't think that he was going to go anywhere. But then in WWE, I guess WWE saw something in him that nobody else did. He became the inaugural NXT champion and was christened by Dusty Rhodes as one of the future greats.
That's pretty big.
That is such a huge fucking deal.
Yeah, 100%. And on top of that, like, yes, he was like, I think he was Ring of Honor champion at one point, but at the same time, like, that doesn't necessarily translate into success in the WWE. You know who else was a Ring of Honor champion? Jamie Noble.
Really?
Yeah, Jamie Noble. I am 99% sure on this, but Jamie Noble is a former Ring of Honor World Champion, and they're about the same size. Like, I know that J&J Security was like supposed to be like their doofus, you know.
What happened to J&J Security? I haven't seen them for a while.
They died at the hands of Bork.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar murdered them, just like he murdered Bo Dallas and Kofi Kingston, and will be murdering, who's his opponent at MSG again?
Big Show.
Big Show. And he will be murdering Big Show as well.
I don't know. Big Show took him to his limit a few times.
Nope, fuck that. It's gonna be a squash match and it's gonna be fucking hilarious. But anyway, let's get back to Seth Rollins, because after he became NXT World Champion, soon after that, he dropped the championship to Big E and moved on to help form the Shield along with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Now, here's an important thing. He ended up winning the World Tag Team titles in 2013 alongside Roman Reigns. Dean Ambrose ended up getting the United States Championship. But Seth Rollins always felt like the third wheel. If you guys remember that, everybody's attention was on Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose at the time, and Seth Rollins was always just kind of there.
Yeah, like Dean Ambrose was the talker, Roman Reigns was the muscle, and Rollins
was just there.
Rollins felt like the guy who would get his ass handed to him only to give the hot tag to Reigns. And yeah, he would do flippy shit and all that, but again, that doesn't necessarily equal major success, because honestly, the early parts of the Shield with Reigns and Rollins tagging up, like,
Reigns was pretty much the one you cared about.
Yeah, and I was kind of getting some Evan Bourne vibes from Seth Rollins. Like, yeah, he was flippy and he was like really good at what he was, but like I don't see him doing all that much afterwards.
And, Evan Bourne, how I miss you.
We
have Neville now, so that's fine.
We got Neville. That's totally fine with me. But moving on from that, they just kept going on, and then all of a sudden, something that nobody thought would happen, friggin' Seth Rollins is the one that does the heel turn and breaks up the Shield. Everybody was thinking the other two, Roman Reigns, because you need the successful heel turn to make a successful face, or Ambrose, because, well, it's fucking Ambrose. Like, that's the obvious choice. But no, out of fucking nowhere, the third wheel comes in, dismantles the Shield, and everybody's like, that's dumb. Why would you do that?
Especially because the Shield was at their height of popularity. They had just beaten the Wyatts and then beaten Evolution
Okay,
twice.
side note, to all those people that say that they broke the Shield up early, I say no. If you want to make a shocking heel turn when it comes to the breakup of a faction, you need to break them up at the height of their popularity, so that way it's memorable. And you can always have them on the mind, because I see people going like, oh my god, I want a Shield reunification. I want it so bad. You leave them wanting.
You had that one moment. You had that one moment in that Fatal 4-Way. That's all we're getting.
People saw Seth Rollins, they were like, this is dumb. Why would they be elevating him like this? But then on the promo on the Raw after, you discovered, oh wow, he can talk. And then as matches went on, you went, oh wow, he can wrestle. And it just kept going from there, and people realized really quickly that Seth Rollins was in fact the correct choice and was the real deal, and it all culminated. His entire career culminated into a moment that will be on documentaries and will be on montages, and when the guy is like 50 years old and is going to retire and go into the Hall of Fame, is going to be the moment that they mention the most, his cash-in at WrestleMania 31. Like, we cannot stress that enough, just how important that cash-in is and was and will forever be to Seth Rollins' career. He became the very first NXT show alumni to become WWE champion. From there, he was able to defeat John Cena in an albeit unclean fashion to unify the United States and WWE championship, and he will be the second second person in WWE history to face Sting and for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Seth Rollins has got a lot rolling on him. Now, there's two things about that. You brought up the moment for WrestleMania. Now, with that moment, it separates itself from all the other cash-ins that happened, because like you had like so Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton and hell Edge did it like multiple times, but this is the moment, like the highest place you can possibly do it. Now the second thing about that, we've witnessed this rise. We've witnessed Seth Rollins. I think when we were like still early stages of the Haymakers, we were there for like the Money in the Bank when Seth Rollins, got the briefcase, and we witnessed everything from then on, right up to WrestleMania, and now onwards.
I think our first like actual video where we did like a Haymakers prediction thing was for Money in the Bank 2014, where Seth Rollins won the case.
Did we?
Yeah, that was with Quick Script and Sparky.
And Jesse. I know Jesse was there too.
Jesse was for Battleground.
Oh, never mind. Okay. But yeah, I do remember that was your first official Haymakers thing where all you guys did was the pay-per-view predictions. But now we're here and we're witnessing the thing is a lot of people are worrying about Seth Rollins. Guys, look, with all of the things that he's done so far in the WWE, Rollins will go nowhere. He is arguably the most protected person on the roster right now besides Roman Reigns and John Cena. So he will not go anywhere. All right, this is a guy that cheated on his fiance and got dick pics spread all over the internet and was in a relationship with a Nazi sympathizer, and he's still WWE champion.
Now, if he was in the mid-card, now he'd be buried for the rest of his career, but he's right up there at the top.
Yeah, but that's the crazy thing. Like, with everything that keeps popping up, with the dick pics, with the Nazi sympathizer GF, like, everything that happens to him, not only does it bounce off of him, he goes bigger and bigger afterwards. Because, like, right after the dick pics was happening, like, that was when he was still holding Money in the Bank. And at that point, it was like, oh, no.
Well, he's screwed.
This is going to end bad. Nope, he ends up cashing in and winning Money in the Bank. Then the Nazi sympathizer girlfriend stuff comes up and goes, and this was right as he was about to face Cena at SummerSlam. And guess what? He takes the United States Championship too. Like, this guy is invincible. He cannot be stopped by mortal man.
And that is why I call him the underdog. Like, this is why this is an underdog narrative, because you had a guy that people hated and people thought was going to go nowhere. And man, look at him now.
My little Seth Rollins is all grown up.
He is one. Like I said it before, but I'll go back a little bit. He is one of the 5 best wrestlers in the world right now, bar none. Full stop. End of story.
Yeah,
he is one of the 5 best wrestlers in the world now, and the WWE took a chance on him because he had problems. He wasn't exactly a team player, but he bought in. The WWE bought in, and they went to the moon with this guy. Like, we talk about Roman Reigns getting the monster push. This guy.
Meanwhile, Roman Reigns is sitting there just like, the ship in my push. Well, fuck you, Roman Reigns. I'm sorry, but Rollins is the one that's taking what was meant for you.
That's what his mom was saying after WrestleMania. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, they were pissed. Well, fuck them. Anyway, let's move on to the next underdog narrative. Hey guys, you ever hear of a wrestler named Chris Jericho? I don't know if... Yeah.
Is he in NXT?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's hard to say it now, but Chris Jericho at one time was in fact an underdog. In WCW, he was arguably the most popular cruiserweight wrestler they had, worthy of the main event scene, but WCW never bit the bullet, so he transferred over to WWE. And after an amazing debut, arguably one of the greatest debuts of all time, against The Rock, he promptly got buried. Crowds didn't really like him very much. He was constantly beaten in matches. He was just very uninteresting and was very stinted, possibly because of pressure from the locker room, because WWE guys didn't like WCW guys. But after putting on a couple of great matches on Raw, people started to turn on him again. He won the championship from Triple H in March of 2000, and while it was quickly given back to him, it was to gauge crowd interest for Chris Jericho as possible WWE champion. This all came to a head in late 2001, with Chris Jericho as the heel going into a mini-tournament alongside the ranks of The Rock, Kurt Angle, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Wow. Everybody was hedging their bets on either The Rock, Kurt Angle, or Steve Austin winning the tournament and being crowned the undisputed champion of WWE, holding both the WWE and WCW titles. Turns out, everyone was wrong, and one of the biggest underdog narratives concluded with one of the biggest shockers in wrestling history, with Chris Jericho beating the 3 top men in the WWE in one night to claim the very first undisputed championship in the WWE.
Okay, first off, this was one of the first big times that the WWE really went away from the whole, like, the big guy narrative winning the title. Because, you know, you have The Rock there, you have Stone Cold there, you have Kurt Angle there, 3 of the best wrestlers ever. And there's a little Chris Jericho just off to the side going like, and I remember seeing in the Monday Night Wars documentary, I think it was, where he said he was just happy to be in the tournament. Like, he didn't expect that he was going to win the thing. And like,
it's pretty big. It's pretty big for Chris Jericho at that time, whose star status compared to now was nowhere near as big as now. He was, like Calico said, getting his ass kicked over and over again. So to see him beat 3 of the best in one night, taking the top title, it's huge. And he ran with that from there, even though, well, of course, he lost it later. But it's from there at that start where his rise got even higher and higher and higher. There he is, taking all the best titles, tag team, intercontinental, European, and all and on. So
and then Triple H happened.
Yeah, and then Triple H happened. But, you know, it's here where, you know, it's an important part of Chris Jericho's career. The career that when he was a heel, when he came back, he always brought this moment up. And it is important in wrestling history that this happened for Chris Jericho.
It must have been overwhelming for Chris Jericho, because in fall of 1999, he was in mid-card hell, destined to become a jobber for life. And then all of a sudden, in 2001, he beats everyone in the company to claim one of the biggest accolades in wrestling history. Like, it happened so fast for Jericho that I'm surprised that the stress didn't boil him alive. I'm surprised that he was able to keep up with it. And from there, like, he always had a safety transitional guy. He had a fantastic legendary match at WrestleMania 19 against Shawn Michaels. From there, he started going up against legends, especially in 2009 against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, which showed that Steamboat, even in his age, could still wrestle really well, which surprised the hell out of me. But that event kind of cemented Chris Jericho's legacy and cemented his hard work, and showed that with hard work you can pretty much do anything, as long as you toe the company line. Chris Jericho is the ultimate company guy, I swear.
Yeah, he has been called a shill more than once, but yeah, if you're gonna stay in the company for as long as Jericho has and stay at such a high level, because let's not mix this up. Jericho could come back today and probably win the world title,
and I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, like he said before that he really isn't interested in winning titles. He's just like there to help the WWE. That's why he's doing house shows, like just exclusively house shows, because he just wants to entertain the fans and put on a good product. But even still, Jericho has the name brand value to just, he could win whatever he would want to win, and the WWE would be cool with it. He's one of those few names that really could like sway the WWE to change their plans for him. It's basically The Rock, Stone Cold, Cena, and Jericho. Those are the 4 that I feel like the WWE would bend over backwards to try to please.
Yeah, and right now Jericho is set to face Kevin Owens at the Madison Square Garden special that they have coming up, which for many, it's huge and it's an honor. It's an honor to face Chris Jericho now because Jericho's a company guy. He'll put you over. He'll make you look good. He'll put on a great match. And people always say, oh, Jericho's just going to lose now. He's just made to make people look good. No, it's not about winning or losing for Jericho now. It's all about putting on a good show. He is, in his feud with CM Punk, he has always said he is the best in the world at what he does. And I'm siding with Jericho on this because whether it was as the underdog or whether it's now, he is one of the best in the world.
Hell, he won at Beast in the East and put over Neville as a deity.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He beat Neville. So shut up, people. Yeah, I said it.
Since we were actually talking about NXT, Nikki, we can segue that in.
Nice. Well done. Good job on that one, sir. All right. So there's this really happy guy over in NXT by the name of Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn.
People might remember him. Well, some legends say that in a past life he was known as El Generico.
No, that's bullshit. El Generico right now is in Mexico taking care of orphans, okay?
Exactly. So, Sami Zayn came out of nowhere to appear on the NXT scene. How good am I keeping in kayfabe? Am I doing good?
Yeah, you're doing good.
Okay. So, he shows up in NXT, and he's a pretty popular guy right away. And
that happy-ass theme song.
Oh my god, that theme song, let me tell you about it. But the crowd gets into him, they like him, they want him to get over. But unfortunately, he doesn't quite do that. At the first NXT big event, Arrival, he puts on a tremendous match, 22 minutes long against Cesaro, and Cesaro ends up coming out on top. Later on down the road, they have a 2 out of 3 falls match, and Cesaro wins there. So they move on from there. Sami Zayn then goes up against Tyler Breeze at NXT TakeOver, and Tyler Breeze wins and becomes #1 contender for the NXT Championship. Okay, all right, that's fine. Sami Zayn will get his due down the road, maybe at TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, where he'll go up against Adrian Neville, Tyson Kidd, and Tyler Breeze. Nope, he loses that one in another really good match, but he loses that one too. And eventually, it just keeps building, and he keeps like facing setback after setback, and then finally heading into TakeOver Our Evolution, Sami Zayn has finally had enough. He goes up to Adrian Neville and says, "This is my last stand. If I don't win the NXT Championship at TakeOver Our Evolution," side note, dumbest name in professional wrestling for a pay-per-view ever. Moving on. If Sami Zayn were to lose the match at Our Evolution, he will voluntarily quit NXT. And the promo that was put on between Zayn and Neville, where Neville constantly was trying to distance himself from that fact, trying to go, look, you can do what you want, but after the match, you can do what you want. It's not my prerogative. That sounded nothing like Neville. That sounded a little more like Balor. I apologize. But I can't do English accents. But either way, and Zayn just slaps him in the face and goes, you want to talk about how I'm not going to be, and just like lays into Neville. And both of these guys are like, these are the two most over faces in NXT, just ripping the shit out of one another. And then finally, we come to the big match, Zayn versus Adrian Neville at TakeOver Our Evolution. And it set up such a great narrative because Zayn is 100% grade A babyface. Like, I struggle to imagine how they'll make him be struggle to see how they'll make him be a heel down the road. It'll happen, but it's going to be tough. But throughout the whole match, Zayn is given opportunities to take a shortcut, to find an easy route to win. At one point, the referee gets taken out of the match, and a chair is in the ring, and Neville is down, and he has the opportunity.
Okay, side note, it was actually the NXT belt. Continue.
Oh, the NXT belt. Thank you very much. So he has the opportunity to just clobber the hell out of Neville, and just like, because the referee's out, he'll never know. But instead, Zayn goes and checks on the ref, makes sure he's okay, and ends up eating it with, I think, what was a super hard enziguri. and nearly took a fall right there. But eventually, at the end, he finally battled through everything, pinned Neville 1, 2, 3, and it culminated in a beautiful moment where Sami Zayn wins the title and the entire NXT locker room just comes pouring out into the ring to congratulate him, including his best friend through the indie circuit, a man who just had his first match. Wait. Was this?
I think it was. Yeah, I think
yes,
that was
it was.
Owens'
Yes,
debut.
it was. Yeah, that was Owens' debut. I had to think back. But yes, including Kevin Owens, who had just made his debut that night against CJ Parker. And it was such a great moment because those who had been watching NXT had seen Sami Zayn go through the ringer.
Holy shit, Owens just clotheslined Sami Zayn. What the fuck is going on?
Yep, and the moment is ruined.
Ruined?
This
No.
whole fucking sequence took about a half hour from the beginning of the match all the way to Owens' now infamous heel turn. And good God, did it set up a wonderful underdog narrative. In fact, it's shockingly similar to Bayley's entire plotline from start to finish. And it really shows the strength of old school booking, because we've seen this plotline play out how many fucking times over the last 30 years? We did it with Dusty Rhodes, we did it with Hulk Hogan, we did it with how many fucking times have we seen this? We've seen this a lot. Just a lot. So we see it again, but God, it never gets old to see a person struggle in his career and then all of a sudden he gets it.
It's satisfying at the end.
It's satisfying. And not to mention that match was an all-time classic.
Yeah, it was a fantastic match. It had drama in it. And you know what? I've said before that the fact that Zayn called the fact that he would be quitting NXT if he lost as a way of basically telegraphing that he was going to win. But you know what? Throughout that whole match, there was moments when you thought, "Oh my God, this is it. He's going to lose." Like during the match, it seemed like it could go either way. It was just a fantastic match that was just rife with drama and suspense and a great moment at the end. And then, guess what? Even though Zayn won, the underdog label was promptly put right back on him, even though he had just won the title, thanks to the Kevin Owens backstab. Throughout this entire thing, even up to now, he is still an underdog. Like, that's the great thing. Like, the underdog status has never left him. He could come, as soon as he comes back from his injury and he goes after whatever title he's looking to go for, he'll be an underdog once again. It's a great narrative and it's working for him.
It is. Yeah, this narrative isn't even done yet. We all knew that, like, it was going to be over. This just like the underdog story is really just beginning. Like, I know the whole trope, just like, this isn't the end, it's only the beginning. That's basically what sums up that night for him, where he's just like, yes, I had the title. Oh, fuck, my best friend betrayed me. Well, into the fire again we go. And it's really cool, though, because with Sami Zayn, he is one of the most talented people they have on NXT, and he belongs in NXT for just a little bit longer when he comes back, when he gets his redemption, all that good stuff. But with Sami Zayn, when I look at him, when I saw, like, his road, I guess, that's what I'm going to call his road upwards, he has the ability and the look to be a champion, and I think it was only a matter of time for him. You know, some of the people just like, they're not going to be champion, just they're like filler material or whatever. But with Sami Zayn, just like, there's a guy who's going to be champion. Just give him, it's only a matter of time before he becomes champion. And Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville and Kevin Owens, they all have that look.
Okay, so I will say that Sami Zayn should be coming back around the time of the Royal Rumble. So I think they're gonna thrust him right into the main roster immediately, and they're gonna put him in a program with Kevin Owens, probably for a title for WrestleMania.
Yes, because
title, please.
Oh, that's probably what it's going to be, because there's been little tiny hints, well, not really tiny, but pretty substantial hints that Owens is going after Ryback's Intercontinental title. So I think he's winning it at Night of Champions, holding it for quite some time, and then Owens will go after, or Zayn will go after the IC title and win it at WrestleMania 32. Like, the narrative for an Owens-Zayn rivalry is not done. it still has plenty of stuff to go through, because the last time we saw him, Owens was destroying Zayn. Like, you can't tell me this isn't setting up for his big triumphant comeback somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing is being set up much like Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3.
Make it happen.
Do it. Don't fuck this up, WWE. You have gold in your hands. Don't piss on it.
All right, next up.
Okay, we're back to me. All right, since we talking about NXT, why don't we go to another little corporation that uses 3 letters, one that we're all very familiar with. I know Nikki is very familiar with, ECW.
ECW.
This seems a little weird. Why are we putting an entire wrestling corporation as the underdog? Well, ECW, it's a no-brainer. ECW, before it became the extreme corporation that we know it as now, was just kind of there. It was just every other corporation. It blended in. It wasn't anything really special until the franchise, Shane Douglas, won a tournament at one of the big events. He had the NWA championship in his hands. He's making some promo, and then he stops. He's just like, wait a minute, you know what? All these people, they can all kiss my ass. And he throws the belt on the ground. Everybody freaks out over it. And around that time, you have, I believe, what was it? Todd Gordon, I think, was the name of the guy. The promotioner person who made another promo.
The name of the guy who did the thing. Anyway, who cares? Yeah, Paul Heyman takes over.
Yeah, okay. But it's at that point where the corporation is dubbed ECW Extreme Championship Wrestling. Now,
it was ECW beforehand. It was Eastern Championship Wrestling. But at that point, Shane Douglas, I believe it was, rechristened it as Extreme Championship Wrestling. And the title became the NWA ECW heavyweight title.
So along comes in Paul Heyman, the genius, the guaranteed Hall of Famer, probably the best manager and best promotioner person that we will know ever to this day. Mm-hmm. Paul Heyman comes in, looks at ECW, he's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take you places. I'm going to bring you right up there with WCW and WWE. We're going to make a mark. And this little underdog corporation that started off with just like a few people, started getting more attention. People started to watch it because they were bringing in violence. They were bringing in a revolution of something a little bit different. They were bringing in some real hardcore shit that was appealing to the demographic at the time. And they made such a loud noise that eventually WWE and WCW turned to them. And they're just like, okay, we got to start taking you seriously. Paul Heyman brought ECW to its highest point in the 90s. And, you know, people still chant about it today. You know, you hear the ECW chants every once in a while. But it started as a chant for WWE, and then it started getting more people involved.
ECW, like, it's just a great story all around, because Paul Heyman took this thing and just ran with it, because this guy Heyman has such a great mind for this business. He knows how to work crowds. Like, for example, WCW had a guy by the name of Steve Austin. And he was all right over there. He was a tag team guy, kind of feuded with Brian Pillman. But eventually, he didn't last very long, and WCW ditched him. So along comes ECW. Steve Austin's been kind of friends with Heyman from back when Heyman was Paul E. Dangerously in WCW. He gives him a call, and Paul E. Dangerously. What a name.
That's a name to remember.
So Heyman gives him a call, gets him a job over there. Unfortunately, you know, Steve Austin's hurt. He's gone through shoulder surgery. Well, that's fine. Just give him a microphone. It's Steve fucking Austin. Like, give him a microphone. Have him cut promos. And guess what? Those promos were some of the best things that ECW, or some of the best promos ECW ever did. Like the Monday NyQuil, Monday NyQuil, or the one where he was talking about how everybody in ECW was absolute shit because, like, he'd been through real wrestlers and these weren't real wrestlers.
And lest we forget the promo where he dressed up like Hulk Hogan and mocked the red and yellow.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's something that we'll see nowadays. Like, we'll see that every so often. Shawn Michaels, in fact, did the same exact thing in the lead up to the 2005 SummerSlam match, but that was the first time we'd ever seen that, and we saw that 10 years earlier with Steve Austin doing it, but Heyman knew that Steve Austin could promo, and Heyman knew that his promos would only get better if Austin was pissed the fuck off. In fact, being angry is Steve Austin's entire archetype. Like, forget
It's
the
his
whole
character.
redneck,
He's just
beer-swelling, anti-authority thing that Austin was doing throughout the Attitude Era. No, all of that boils down to the fact that Austin is pissed off all the time and just wants to wreck shit because that's the only solace that he can get from his entire wasted existence. That is Steve Austin in its most basic nutshell, and it all started with ECW.
ECW got a lot of great people started there. They were the ones to say, hey, let's bring up the luchadors. And you had Lucha Libre in there. You had Psychosis, Juventud Guerrera, Rey Mysterio especially. You had Eddie Guerrero. You had Dean Malenko. You had Chris Jericho. You had Too Cold Scorpio. You had all of these people coming up to ECW. And WCW and WWE noticed how good it was down there. And ECW became a breeding ground. Both corporations saw that there was so much talent there that, unfortunately, the word I use is raid, especially in WCW's case, and they took things from there. And it's because of ECW's success that people started to see that there was stars there. There was potential there. Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, 3 names right there came from ECW.
It wasn't just that. They also... Like, people talk about the luchadors. They also went over to Japan and got really good wrestlers from there. Like Masato Tanaka. Thank you. Like, he was the first, if I recall, he was the first ever, like, from Japan champion in a American promotion. And he won the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. Like, he helped set that off, even though, Japanese people in America really don't, in American promotions don't get a lot. But Tanaka really helped there.
A lot of people did. The corporation as a whole is why it's on this list, for how well it did in the 90s, for how it was a little corporation that could, and eventually, yeah, it died. But you know what? It has a story. It has a beautiful story behind it that is a part of a documentary that people have followed, and so much has came from there that we now see in WWE.
ECW failed for 2 reasons. 1, Paul Heyman is a bit too manipulative for his tastes.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
2, because of the violent nature of the program, even though their video games were doing well, even though their merchandise was doing well, even though all eyes were on their product, and even though everybody knew who they were, they could not secure a good television deal. That would not be such a big deal now, especially with the internet, but back then, TV meant everything, and they could not get one because of the violent nature of their product, so unfortunately, they ran out of money and were forced to fold.
Yeah, but
But damn it if they didn't go out swinging and kicking.
Yeah, and not only was their whole promotion an underdog effort, like, there was a bunch of really great underdog stories in in ECW. Like, of course, I'm gonna bring his ass up. Rob Van Dam, he was constantly viewed as mid card for life. Like, he was the longest reigning ECW television champion ever, but he was finally set to get his due at what was the pay-per-view where he was supposed to face Mike Awesome?
I think?
That was the big one, but I don't think that was. It might have been barely legal, but he was supposed to face Mike Awesome for the title, and Rhino hurt.
Okay, I don't know that one. What about Mikey Whipwreck? Mikey
Whipwreck, yes.
Mikey should have been on this list, but we grouped him in with ECW. Mikey Whipwreck is an awesome underdog story.
Yeah, he's like this tiny little guy. He's like 187 pounds, but
he was a fucking ring crew member that they decided, hey, do you want to wrestle? Sure, okay.
Yeah, and turns out the guy could wrestle, and he won. I think he won every title that that ECW had. I think he's one of their few Triple Crown winners, and unfortunately, injuries kind of ruined him, and especially in the WCW when they tried to make him work. Lol, no. But yeah, Mikey Whipwreck was one of those guys that who would come out of nowhere and just surprise, he's a champion. Same for Sandman. You look at Sandman, that guy's not a wrestler. He looks like a construction worker. He looks like he smokes and drinks into the ring, and nope, he's like a 4-time champion over there.
Or Tommy Dreamer, of course, when first started out, and he had the whole Singapore caning thing, and people started believing in his hardcore abilities. So we can go on and on. Hell, we could have made an ECW Underdog video, no problem, because there's so much that happened in there that warrants that.
But ECW, the whole Fed makes it on because we don't have that much time.
Yeah, and especially we got to get to the big one, which of course is Calcos' favorite.
Oh boy. Okay, you know what? I asked you guys if this one should be the big one, and you said yes. You could have said no, but you didn't.
So this is all our faults.
This is all your fault. Okay. Now,
well, we couldn't. Well, this is probably one of the biggest ones, I think.
Okay, admittedly, yes, this is a big one. You guys may disagree with our list at some point, and yeah, we are leaving out a lot of underdog stories. Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30 immediately comes to mind, but this one is my favorite, again, mostly because it revolves around my GOAT, my greatest of all time, Eddie Guerrero. Now, Eddie Guerrero has a long and storied career. He started in ECW, went over to WCW because the check was fat, and wrestled in a lot of great matches there, most notably against Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc 1997. Eventually joined the Radicals and jumped ship to WWE alongside Chris Benoit and Test and Albert. Sorry.
No. The Radicals. Yeah, Perry Saturn, Malenko, Benoit, and Guerrero.
Thank you. Okay, sorry. Names are jumbling because I wanted to say Rey Mysterio, and I was like, no, that's not correct at all. But anyway, they jumped ship over to WWE in January of 2000, which really solved the WWE's problem of being good on story, not so great on wrestling. So that was a big deal that they did that. But then in 2001, Eddie Guerrero was fired because drugs and shit. And he ended up returning, formed Los Guerreros with his nephew, Chavo Guerrero, in a very exciting luchador tag team. And, like, a lot of this just keeps building up. And he keeps going through 2003, putting on great matches. His character starts to change, and he starts to gradually turn into a face because everybody really likes him. He cuts his hair, bleaches it a little bit, new hairstyle, starts coming out with a lowrider, and everybody fucking loves him. But he always had those demons. Eddie Guerrero has never been mentally sound. He was just very, very good at hiding it because of all the drugs and all of the problems with his family and all of the problems with his booking and standing with all the wrestling federations that he was in. He was troubled. But in 2004, he decided to go after Brock Lesnar's WWE Championship. And everybody was expecting that Brock Lesnar would drop it at WrestleMania as his retirement match. Probably against Goldberg. Unbeknownst to us, Goldberg would eventually retire as well. But there was this great redemption angle when it comes to his match against Brock Lesnar, because he kept saying that you don't know me. You don't know the things that I've been through. You don't know the demons that are inside of my head. But you are the personification of those demons, and I will beat those demons at No Way Out 2004. And of course, it's Brock fucking Lesnar. The guy back then would stomp out underdog narratives. All of them. He only lost the championship twice, one of which was against The Big Show back in his prime. I don't remember who the other one was against, but it was probably a fluke where he just won it back again.
I think Kurt Angle. Maybe he dropped the belt one time during all of that. I do not remember.
I don't. All I know is that he was a 3-time champion before he returned, so I know he dropped it twice, but he stomped out all of the underdog narratives, and of course we were expecting he's not going to lose the title in between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. That never happens. Except for now.
But it does now.
It does now. Eddie Guerrero, yeah, it was not clean. This is true. Again, it was not clean. But the be-all, end-all of it is that it was against Brock Lesnar. And it was during an era when unclean finishes were routine and didn't really matter that much. So, Eddie Guerrero does it. He wins the championship. Nobody expected that. Everybody wanted it, and they got it. And it was such a wonderful moment to see this cruiserweight come through the ranks and beat the Beast for the WWE title. All right, that is very similar to someone like, say, Sami Zayn winning against Brock Lesnar for the WWE title. Like, it's very similar to that.
That would be amazing.
Now, it seems like Brock Lesnar now, just to go off on a side note, Brock Lesnar still has that beast thing. He still has that role, that character. And if you have anybody go up against him, it's going to be an interesting story. Back then, Lesnar will never be as hot as he was in his prime. And I'm going to refer to those years as his prime. He was destroying everybody. To see someone like Eddie Guerrero actually take him to the limit. If you exclude the Goldberg finish from that match, Eddie probably could have won it. He had him pretty beat. And I think that's really cool because it showed that Eddie, of all people, could take Lesnar to his limit. It was great to see. They had an awesome match. Eddie put on, like, you know, a real technical showcase. He did every smart thing that he could other than cheating. And it was really cool to see how that happened. Well, no, he did cheat. He did clock Lesnar in the face with it. So
yeah, he did clock Lesnar in the face with the belt, but that was about as inadvertent as you can get, because Eddie did all the legwork there. He countered the F5 into a tornado DDT. Like, yeah. The belt was just kind of there.
The belt? Okay.
Yeah, the belt was just kind of there. You know, like, yeah, it was cheating, but it was about as inadvertent as it can possibly get. Not to mention Brock Lesnar was going after the belt to cheat. I think. I can't exactly remember the booking, but you know what? Who fucking cares? That
sounds about right.
The moment is remembered very fondly as Eddie Guerrero's coming out party for just beating the Beast, the unbeatable Beast. I mean, you couldn't beat him clean. You couldn't even beat him unclean. He was the master. He was the champion. He was the brick shithouse. And Eddie Guerrero, a cruiserweight that weighed about 220 pounds and was about 5'11", fucking did it.
Best part about that, though, is that the story doesn't end there. Because Eddie then goes on to WrestleMania and beats Kurt Angle there. And he has that great celebration with Chris Benoit. So that's where it really culminates for him in that moment, where he is the WWE champion as a part of WrestleMania. And still staying as champion.
And you know what? He remained an underdog, too, because then JBL gave him the Sami Zayn treatment and beat his ass in a bull rope match. And Eddie Guerrero was going to be coming back in late 2005. Unfortunately, he passed away. We all know what happened there. But what we have, man, it's something special. I would love to experience something like that again today. I would absolutely adore it.
But yeah, the match against Lesnar pretty much cemented his status as one of the greatest wrestlers of the generation. And posthumously, he ended up getting called one of the greatest of all time. But still, for the WWE to believe in Eddie Guerrero, of all people, and there was plenty of people around that time who you'd think, okay, this is going to be the guy who knocks off the Beast. Nope, it's Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero. Like, that was just something that nobody was expecting. And it's just a crazy good moment. And I love it. I love it, Michael.
Yeah, I think that brings us to a nice little close there. So, people in the comments, what is your favorite underdog story? Let us know below. Comment, subscribe, Twitter, and fuck it, we're not even going to mention Patreon anymore. Even though we know you guys support us, Patreon's kind of dead for us right now, but whatever.
It's K. We'll continue to do it for free.
Yes. Yay! So, yeah, thank you guys for being here. And I believe next week is Night of Champions?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Okay, yeah, we'll give our predictions for that. So that ought to be fun.
Huzzah.
Wow, Night of Champions snuck up on us.
Yeah,
it really did. And also, we apologize for not being here last week. Some stuff came up. But, you know, we're here now, so it's all good.
Tune's connection is total shite.
Yeah, that's Chicago internet for you.
See you all next week for Night of Champions predictions.
Woo!
That show's gonna be fizz.